All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to Airplane Fever's third podcast edition. I am your host, Michael Courtney. Today we are flying to Middle River, Maryland, airport identifier Kilo Mike Tango November, home of the A10 Warthog. For those of us that appreciate flying, which I assume you all do, very special guest to introduce to you guys this evening. As promised, I have Matthew Schrock, who is the founder of Bodacious Aircraft Company. Matthew, as I understand, I know you're in Maryland today,
Yes.
but that's not where you're originally from. And I know that you're very well known around the Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach area.
Yes.
Anything you want to enlighten us about kind of your footprint? And then I have one very special question I want to ask of you. That kind of reason I wanted to interview you. And by the way, thank you, Matthew, for allowing me to take this time to interview you, because I think what you have to say is extremely important for our aviation industry.
Thank you, Mike. It's my pleasure. So I work all over the place, depending on the jobs, museums, some airline work, a lot of 135 work, FBO operations. I detail all over the place. I might be down in Texas next week, but chances are I'll be in the Fort Lauderdale area, but you just never know. Normally, if you call me a few days ahead of time, depending on the project, it works out very well, and I can show up to your facility or your aircraft.
Which is perfect, leading to my really the most important question for now. Now, you and I, of course, we've spoken a lot of time on the phone, so I know there's a whole lot more that you have to offer the aviation industry. But just for time's sake, and just for the question at hand with reference to aircraft detailing, Matthew, could you tell us really what is the main difference between what you have to offer, how you detail, or what you call aircraft detailing, versus me getting a bucket of filtered water and dish soap and just doing a really good job washing my plane? Tell us, for those that don't know, what the difference is.
Well, generally with good common sense, you can do a pretty good job, in general aviation, cleaning your aircraft and making it look nice without causing anything wrong. If you use dish soap, though, Michael, you may break down some really good waxes that are on the aircraft and knock them layers off. Dawn dish soap, it just wipe it right out. However, there's a big difference between just washing the aircraft and doing a detail or a restoration project on an aircraft. However, safety is works with both of those, though. You can get hurt very easily just washing an aircraft as much as you could detailing one. Sometimes you'll be on a ladder, you'll be around sometimes aqueous wet areas. A lot of things could go wrong unless you have a few plans put in play prior to starting the job.
And I know it doesn't need to be said, but safety is probably the number one issue you want to address when it comes to flying. Not very forgiving, right?
Absolutely, and it goes both hands. It's safety for yourself, and just as important of the aircraft too. You want to have protocol and proper safety, a list works very well that you check off before and after you even wash an aircraft. So,
and if I understand correctly, Matthew, you were also issued in the was it the Flying Magazine? I believe in 1993, you were featured on Flying Magazine with the Bodacious Aircraft Company. Was it for your detail work? And am I addressing the correct magazine?
Yes, it was a Flying Magazine for a 1967 Howard 500 that I restored. It was on the front. Yes. I've done a lot of very interesting things.
sharing maybe just a few of these with our public so they can kind of get a little bit of an idea of the work that you've done?
Sure. All of my work's private. The photos that I sent you are disclosed, and there's no problem with anything you'd like to share. So
Awesome. Yeah. And I know in our previous conversation, you shared something that was very important, addressing the pH. We were talking about Dawn dish soap. Also, another important reason why the pH was so important about when it comes to washing your aircraft. I mean, it's not just a regular surface or not a very forgiving surface.
Well, sure. It's critical not to use anything, preferably of no pH, inside of an aircraft due to the corrosion factor with your avionics and wiring. However, you shouldn't do it on your exterior either. It's a much slower process of corrosion, but it will happen.
Okay. Very important. I know there's a saying, I'm sure everybody in the aviation industry, most of us have heard it, that it's very easy to become a millionaire in the aviation industry as long as you were a billionaire first. Because it's a very expensive industry if you don't know what you do. And cutting corners, history shares that can be very detrimental.
Sure.
So,
and my general aviation family, some of them are very nifty, and they ultimately pay the price. But I could suggest, if I may, that after you wash an aircraft nice and you have the paint clean, stick with approved aviation and aerospace materials to work on your aircraft, and call the manufacturers. They'd gladly explain to you what not to use on the aircraft, and sometimes the procedure or fashion that you should use to clean the aircraft safely.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that's great information in it. If I may, also, I know you have a lot of inventions and that you've held patents before. I'm not going to make you touch base on what those are. You and I have spoken about them, and there are many, which I'm very excited for those to roll out and to be available to the public. But is there any of that you can speak about? I know, are you able to talk about the wax? I'm going to misuse the term, so I almost want to stop right there. But I think it was a spray-on wax that can be applied to aircraft. Is that something that you are able or want to talk about this
Sure.
evening?
Sure. It is a wax. It is sprayed on. It's in the final stages right now of being endorsed with the FAA. Once it's applied, it can generally, unless you're out pulling some Mach speeds, it'll last. It could last up to 2,000 hours on the Hobbs meter of the aircraft. And so, while it's on the aircraft, one would save up to thousands of pounds of fuel per flight. Wax on, so it's a super wax.
And I know our margins in aviation can be very thin, so my gears are spinning. And I was thinking, based on just a few of our conversations, why wouldn't an aircraft owner, and even better yet, maybe a leasing company or an airline company, why would they not want to explore, learn more, or even apply the services that you have to offer them? Because seems to me, a huge amount of savings. Is there maybe a comparison that you could give us an idea of what maybe a new paint job could cost a company versus the restorative services
Sure.
that you have to offer?
Sure. First of all, Michael, you'll never, chances are, very slim chance you'll get a better paint job than what the manufacturer put on your aircraft. So you always want to keep the original if possible. So, to restore an aircraft and take off oxidation, different impediments, if it's painted, and that's what we're talking about. Yeah, sure, I can save them 90% of maybe a few $100,000. Not only that, I have ways to preserve the paint for several years to come if it was properly maintained.
Wow,
my suggestions.
awesome. And I know that you have a lot of things going into the process, and you're working on maybe certifications. I'm outside my lane, so Matthew, I apologize if I'm misusing terms and loosely using terms. But are you accepting new clients right now?
Sure, all the time.
Okay, and I know I'm having the privilege of working on your site, and it is a work in progress. But you are, let's say, I'm an airline company, or I have a fleet of aircraft, cargo maybe, that needs to be maintained, restored, or inspected, right? Can they go to your website at, and I'll post a link to there, BodaciousAircraftCompany.com, and maybe submit a request of service through there, and you'd be able to respond within a reasonable time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. And all of my methods are, especially interior, it's non-corrosive, non-caustic materials and processes that I do.
I was biting my tongue. I was hoping you were going to talk about that.
Well, my forte has always been aerodynamics, and the designers, I always wanted to have the edge on what the designer made. However, because of the epidemic a couple years ago, even though I had methods for sanitation, sterilization already, I came up with a whole new idea of this that would be able to be used in 135 operations, as well as airlines, where I introduced a proprietary gas from the outside into the interior of the aircraft, if I may.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, please.
Sure. It's introduced through the auxiliary power unit, and then it goes through the air inlet systems of the aircraft, which engulfs the entire aircraft. Once this procedure is done, after a few minutes, it's sterilized and sanitized, and then it's discharged through emergency outflow valves and other outflow valves of the aircraft. And this could be done while passengers are unboarding and the aircraft's being filled up, thanks to a machine that's available at airports. It's known as a excuse me. This is a preconditioned air unit. This is my little doodle of it here, but they kind of like, and there's very, very high tech companies that have these now, and they're out of Germany. However, these machines will facilitate my process and make it go very smoothly with supercritical temperatures, with the right pressures throughout the cabin, and then discharge. So, I've worked on that, and out of 100 companies who invented different things to kill the coronavirus, mine works. These don't.
Wow.
The UV lights, they fail to properly work. Excuse me. Just because of the fact that they don't work, but they don't get the areas. If a UV light is hitting this area, I'm grabbing back here. This is the common area, and so the germs are still back there. So that's
absolutely pointless.
It is pointless. And not only that, they were using sprays that had nanoparticles and a half a chemical shy of pesticides. They were spraying in these airliners very high PHC, and the FAA was allowing that to happen because of the coronavirus. They just were worried about killing that. So there will be some corrosion issues in the near future with a lot of these airliners and aircraft that have flown that have used these processes, especially the UV light, where it rapidly dilapidates leathers and different vinyls and materials, fabrics that are in private aircraft. So, in the airlines, they don't care. They throw their seats and interior out about every 3 years. So
yeah. But and I realized that from talking to you, I didn't know before that they were actually throwing away and redoing the interior every 3 years. As a passenger, I can appreciate that, but what concerns me is what you just demonstrated, that the effectiveness of the way they sanitize aircraft is just simply not effective.
Well, on top of that, on top of it just killing germs, viruses, and things like that, this process, if you've ever been on a commercial flight and fallen deathly ill for a few seconds, many people have. And what that is you're breathing air that's being brought in from here, and sometimes oil splatters in there, and they're known as PCBs. And by parts per million, it can kill you, but it goes through the ventilation system. My process of aircraft sterilization will dissolve PCBs as well. So there's many great factors in using, my process. So,
Matthew, I am so excited to get this rolled out for you, and I'm hoping that you, and I know you will, keep us posted on anything that we can do to help get this thing moving forward. I know you are already working with entities to move that forward. But anything else that you want to share, anything else that you want to mention, please, the floor is yours. I think what you have to offer is critical as a passenger.
I'm not online a lot, but I've seen you, and I gave you a thumbs up. Airplane Fever is awesome. I like it, but I'm glad you got a hold of me. I'm a busy man, but I will definitely try and keep you updated, and I hope that I'm reaching out right now as we speak for some startup. And my startup will be to get what I have invented turned to gold. It's going to be endorsed by the FAA at that point. I'm going to do some testing. So I will keep you posted. It'll probably be on my website, actually. So.
It will be on your website if I have anything to do with it. And so if I'm understanding you correctly, did you just mention to me that there is an opportunity for an investor to partner with you on launching some of these products that you have in your mind?
Absolutely. Sure.
Wow. I was not expecting that. I know we've spoken some about it, but I was not expecting that for that to come out tonight. And I am very, very excited about that.
Very well.
Oh man, Matthew, yeah. I think I'm actually going to do some reaching out, and anybody who is listening to my voice on the podcast, and you think that you might be the right fit to reach out to Matthew Schrock or myself at Airplane Fever, please do so quickly. You can reach us at airplanefever.com, or you can reach us at our group at Airplane Fever. You can do a Google search, Airplane Fever, and we'll pop up. Reach out quick, guys, because what Matthew Schrock has is critical for the aviation industry. Matthew, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you in this last few, how long have we known each other now? A couple months, maybe?
Yeah.
But it's been a real pleasure. I'm glad I've gotten to run into you. And I know we are just touching the tip of the iceberg with what we're talking about here. There's so much more.
I have a lot of proprietary information.
Yes, absolutely.
If a person was interested, I have non-disclosure agreements, and I'd be glad to show anyone my ideas.
Well, I'm humbled and grateful, Matthew, that you was allowed to be a channel to maybe be one of the first ones to announce that this is out there, that you are putting this out there. I think I had something else that I wanted to ask you, but for whatever reason, that it got defeated. But I'm hoping that in the upcoming episodes that we can have a follow-up conversation about this, and maybe have a time with some of your services and or products already developing some momentum. We can share this again and hopefully even with a larger audience.
I have some great ideas on the horizon, Michael.
That I know. You shared some of that with me.
Sure, and I think that the people that are on Airplane Fever, they're gonna really appreciate.
Yes, that absolutely. Just speaking from the passenger's perspective, licensing perspective, safety, and money, safety, now
Preservation.
Yeah. So all around, Matthew, I'm excited about what you have to offer. Floor is yours. There's anything else you want to say? Other than that, brother, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for going to our third episode and allowing me to be part of the website. This is a whole venture. I'm through with bumping my gums, but if there's anything else that you want to mention, brother, it's all yours.
Well, I thank you, Michael. Yes, I'm available. I'm able to be reached. You have my number, Michael. If anybody would like to speak with me, Michael, that's my phone number. Right now. I'm got my head on the website.
I have to place your personal number on the website. But we can talk more about that. But I have the contact form and we'll be put on there probably before this podcast is aired. So you can, brother, pleasure. I'm looking forward to more. Thanks again. And
Same here.
until next time. That's all I got, guys. Matthew, thanks again. God bless, and we'll see you in the near future.